canvas ahead of us. And it's a day-to-day thing is what that canvas is going to look like, because everything is changing. So this year I wanted to start off by looking at what the greatest gift we have is. And I like to start off thinking that the greatest gift we have that's fairly clear is the fact we're here. There are no accidents. We are here at this point in time because we have chosen to be. This is the most, I guess we could use the word interesting, but there's lots of other words that we would think of in our head. Time in human history. Things are happening that are so strange, we just go, seriously, God? I mean, on a flight to London yesterday, they turned around and went back to Florida because someone wouldn't wear a mask. 500 miles. One of the truths is that as we go through all this strangeness, time continues to move and it never stops. Rachel was talking to her daughter and she asked her daughter, you know, your birthday is coming up soon. What would you like for your birthday? And her daughter said, you know, Mom, there's all these material things, but what I really would like is time with you. More time together. She wanted experiences and memories instead of material things. And that's the kind of impact time has on us. Because once it's gone, we don't get it back. One of the truths that occur is the universe tends to give us what we need at just the right moment. It's like the thought of having an old friend come to our mind, and the next day they call us on the phone. And as we go through this process, we become reflective, and as things happen and we change, we look around us. And there are crossroads in our lives, and one of the gifts we have is the ability to say yes. There was a point in time when Rachel, who says I really need to stop using her in all my sermons, got a divorce. And when she divorced, she decided to become a member of a hot air balloon crew. One of those people that chased the balloons, that set up the balloons, that flew the balloons. So suddenly people were coming to pick her up at 3 o'clock in the morning because balloonists start really early. And it made it really interesting because she was working with a form of flight that everything was to be determined. There was no plotted destination. You just went up and went where the universe took you. All she had to do was say yes. Benjamin Disraeli once said, man is only truly great when he acts from his passion. And that seems to be one of the things that we work on a lot is what is our passion? What is our purpose? Well, as we grow through life, the only way to find that out is to say yes. I do this as a practice sermon to my wife prior to doing it on Sunday morning. And when I did it, she said, you know, this is, it seems like this sermon is more for somebody in their 20s. But I reminded her that, what was the artist? Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was 79. Saying yes doesn't mean, okay, I'm done. And it's really interesting how when we say yes, it takes us in directions we never thought. I was in community theater for a while. And I was really a good character actor. And the reason I discovered was because when I got a role, I had a script that told me who I was. I had a script that told me how I was to act. And I could ad-lib because I knew who I was. Whereas when I went out into real life, I had no clue. And I think one of the things I've discovered is that's one of the reasons for prayer, because in truth, oftentimes we have no clue. The lantern that we hold in front of us to see where we're going only lights a couple feet in front of us, so that we're making it up often. But what happens is we come here with these spiritual gifts. The greatest gift of all, I think, to start off with is to be here. The next one is to say yes. And when we're open to our gifts, things happen. Because they're the expression of who we are. They keep us aligned on our true purposes. Our confidence and self-esteem when we're in the midst of our gift is huge. I'm a musician, and there are times when I'm doing a rehearsal where we will get to going on a couple songs and realize that suddenly it's 90 minutes later because we've gotten so much into the flow. I watch my wife do this when she does her watercolor. That is that inner work that we do as we open to who we are. Because our gifts fill us. They validate us. They feed us. And in the end, our gifts, being the authentic of who we are, help those around us and give them permission to be who they are. This is one of the reasons I realize and reflect on the fact that at any point in time, two of us can sit across from each other. And no matter how many people are around us, we can look into each other's eyes and have an intimate moment that is absolute spiritually divine. It's that point in time when we're looking into the eyes of the person across from us and we go, I see you. I see who you are. And this came out of nowhere. When I was about 15, we went on vacation to Rochester, Minnesota. And as I was walking down the street, I came around the corner. And when I came around the corner, there was a girl coming toward me, and our eyes met. And for just a moment, everything in the world went away. It's as if looking into her eyes, I could see me. Now, of course, being a teenager, I went into complete angst and figured I'd done something terribly wrong and froze on the spot. Of course, she didn't notice anything. She just kept walking on. But we have those moments in our lives when we look into a set of eyes and realize you are me and I am you. And it's really interesting because as we go through life and we are authentic and we move along and we come to that point later in life, one of the commonplace things that occurs often is that many of us step back and go, you know, I'm not so afraid of dying as I am not getting everything done. I want to get all these things done. There's so much left to do. Now, I have to throw out that is in the Buddhist faith tradition. The Buddhists say that there are some tasks we have in our lives that are more than one life tasks because they believe in reincarnation. They say there are some tasks we're doing in this lifetime that are 3 life tasks, and we'll come back to do them again. which helped me a little bit because I figured that I get everything and need to get it done now. This last week, I saw a quote that I just loved. It says, failure is so much easier than regret. You know, we take these steps and we make mistakes. And I don't know about you, but in my household, a mistake was the worst thing you could ever do. Yet I've always found not saying yes or not taking a step and looking back with regret is even tougher. It's that opportunity we have to do something. As a sales manager, one of the things we used to teach our salesmen and saleswomen was if you were doing a sales presentation and the person across from you said no, it meant they just didn't understand what you were doing. So at that point, you would go back to the beginning of the presentation and start over again. Now, for all of you, this is why we think salespeople are so obnoxious, because they just keep on going back to the beginning and starting over again. But what if that's how God works? What if God is in a subtle way giving us direction over and over and over again? And if we ignore it, he just brings out a bigger board. Going sooner or later, they will understand. Though sometimes it doesn't happen in this lifetime. The greatest gift we have is to be a champion of our lives. To be a voice for who we are. To remind ourselves that self-care and patience are not bad words. That it's important for all of us to stop now and then and check and see where we are. I always got confused between content and context. And in relationship, it's an important thing because content is what's going on. Context is you stepping back for a moment and looking at what's going on. And a lot of times they'll say in relationship, when an issue comes up, if both of you can go, well, let's look at this issue, then suddenly it's something you're looking at together. We forget that we're part of this huge ocean of life and we're not alone. And all along the way, God has presented rest stops for us. I don't know about you, but when I was driving, it was always, here comes a rest stop. Should I stop here for the bathroom or go 52 miles to the next one? And can I make it? And always thinking if I skip the rest stop as it recedes in my rearview mirror, have I just made a terrible mistake? Well, our job as human beings is not to ignore the rest stops in our lives. Because we're right in the midst of connecting all the threads, of looking at all our gifts. The question becomes, who are you right now? And it's that whole thing of discovering our purpose, following our heart, and knowing that it is normal that each step occur in such a way that we may take one step forward and then slide back 3. And it's all part of the journey. Through the years, how often I would be working with a client and they would go, I thought I had taken care of that issue. Why are we talking about my dad again? Well, the cycle just keeps happening. We have this spiritual experience that we're in the midst of. And as you all know, my confusion with God that he should do it a different way because he put us in this body. Not only that, he put us in a body that wears out. What's that about? It's time to lead from our hearts. It's time to expand the dreams, open our visions, and say yes to the fact that we are in the midst of this huge gift. Hafiz, the Persian poet, said, "I wish I could show you when you're lonely or in the darkness, the astonishing light of your own." Eric Johnson is a news anchor at a television station, KOMO4 in Seattle, Washington. A number of years back, he started doing opinion pieces called Eric's Heroes, which highlighted the greatest gift of all, people, and people being authentic. The stories are heartfelt and show the divine in the midst of it all. And my biggest difficulty in preparing for this sermon is watching like 20 of these and crying through all 20, because they're wonderful stories. This morning, I wanted you to hear 2 of the stories about how authentic and special each of us are. Each of us are. And we've had a chance to see that in our losses that we've suffered in our congregation, how special people are. The first story is a lady named Yvonne Mcallister. When she was 3 years old, her parents, who were musicians, put a trumpet in her hand. And she took to it. She hasn't put it down since. And she played with her family growing up, got her musicians union card underage because, as she said, they needed women trumpet players. She played with her parents. She played on ship cruises. She played at the local clubs. She tried the symphony for a while, but she said that was really boring because it'd be pages and pages of just measures with no trumpet. And then she said she'd get to do 2 notes. And that's not how she wanted to play trumpet. She went through 4 husbands and 5 kids and many grandkids, thousands of gigs. And she recently celebrated her 100th birthday at Casa Mexico, a Mexican restaurant on Keyport, Washington, where once a month on Wednesday nights, she plays in a Dixieland band and plays a beautiful trumpet. For her 100th birthday, it was one of the Wednesday nights, and the place was filled. And I love what one of her relatives said. They said, her trumpet keeps her vibrant and seems to keep her soul moving. It's the greatest gift for her. This is an example of being authentic and having found a passion early. And they come out of nowhere, these stories that he tells. My second example is a young lady named Mercy Hobb. Mercy had a good friend named Alina, and when they were 5 and 6, Alina's dad, Rich, was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Mercy decided it was her job to cure cancer, to make it so he would live. So she started to check out books in the library that were almost medical books. She became consumed with cancer. She started to read over and over again all the different things, became a science person. And when she got to high school, she discovered that cancer research had been underfunded. She had long hair down to the corner of her back. So she did a fundraiser to donate her hair for wigs for kids and raised $32,000 for cancer to shave her head bald. Now, the universe is an ironic place. You know, God comes around and does interesting things. 2 weeks later, Mercy was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and immediately went into a regimen of chemo. And between the chemo and cancer, her body was ravaged. And while she was in the hospital, she asked questions of every doctor and nurse that was working with her. She talked the doctors into giving her a tour of the cancer research center in the hospital. She said in a post, let me find it for you. Her post said, "Cancer better look out, though. It's picked the wrong girl to mess with. I'm going to kick its butt, and I'm going to get stronger and stronger. And as I move to cure cancer, it's going to go away." And on the last day of treatment, after 2 years of treatment, her mom had decorated the car and parked it out front. They drove for her last chemo, and as they came around the corner, the last 2 blocks, there were over 500 people along the street with balloons and signs saying, "You go get him, Mercy." Now, Mercy just recently turned 16. And can you guess where she's an intern? How about the Cancer Research Center? Her goal is to get into Stanford. And as she says, she's not done. She's going to cure cancer. It's stories like that that make us know that people are living their lives authentically. And each of us have that story. That's one of the loving things about this congregation, because we know each other's stories. He doesn't know I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. We know the story of Lon going through a health challenge and relearning his music because it's his passion. We know these stories. And my challenge to you is, in the coming days, get on YouTube, type in Eric's Heroes, KOMA4, and pick a couple stories. Pick a story of the lasagna lady. There's a lady up there that's from Sicily, her parents, and makes a homemade lasagna and complained on Facebook about the frozen lasagnas and how bad they were. And someone challenged her to make a lasagna. She now has a tent out in front of her house, and she's making 600 lasagnas a month for whoever wants them. People show up all day long to pick up her homemade lasagna. And they'll leave donations, and she's had some fundraisers. And they asked her, "When are you going to stop making the lasagnas?" She said, "When people stop wanting them." So I challenge you, take a look at a couple of these stories, because it's the life we each are living. And that is the greatest gift of all, is that we're here and we're living these lives, each special. So I challenge you, just keep doing what you're doing. Straight out of the devotion song, "Do All You Can," which says, "Do all you can with what you have, in the time you have, in the place you are. Do all you can." Namaste. Oh, and as we go through the week, some of you will be silently cursing me as you're watching your 30-second straight Eric's Hero story, because it's easy to get caught up in them. And so let's take a moment then and take the second part of that. Marcia used some beautiful wording. I love Marcia's languaging. We're going to go ahead and prep for meditation, and we're going to watch the silence fall around us, as Marcia says. But this is a time of grounding and balancing. It is a time of peace and quiet. It's a time to know that we trust the tranquility and landscape of silence. That we're going to go ahead and take a deep breath and allow ourselves just to move within. And move into that deeper place that we are. And as we breathe out, we release and let go of the things that might get in the way. Breathing in spirit. Moving deeper and deeper within that quiet serenity. Deep within us. And as we breathe into that, we're going to take an extended time to sit in that silence, to let that peace and quiet enfold us and ground us. And as we move into it, we let the silence fall around us. Each breath we take continues the grounding, the serenity of this inner divine we are. And as we take a deep breath, we give thanks for the ability we have to be in this place whenever we choose. We take a breath and start to bring in some of the energy of the world around us, knowing there are tasks to do, places to be, people to talk to. And with each breath, we allow that energy to grow within us as we authentically show up as the divine we are. Each breath bringing us more and more back into the room where we are located, knowing that we are across a screen from so many of our heart friends. More and more energy growing and growing, and when the time is right, when the place is open, we let our eyes open to see the faces of the people around us and realize we're zooming along. We give thanks for that, and it's as if we've had a long afternoon nap with our favorite